Okay, welcome. This is a tutorial to help you if you're just starting drawing, technical drawing. You have to draw something like this, which is a truss, a triangulated structure. It's made to fit a particular size of timber, and it's going to be a 1:1 scale, so we can later stick bits of timber on here and model this truss, glue it together and have an exact representation of the shape that we want. So to start off with, you're going to need a ruler, you'll need a pencil, hopefully with a sharp point. Try and get as sharp as you can. You'll need an eraser, and you can get by with just about this, and that's all you really need. It'll be of help to you if you can get hold of a set square, like a 45-degree set square, which is this one, or a 30-60 degrees. So 30 degrees being where my finger's pointing on my right, and on the left is the 60 degrees. Now, let's assume that you don't have any of those at the moment and you just have a ruler. So we're going to start. Note that the width or the span of this truss is 200 millimeters and the height of the truss is 90 millimeters. We know that these supports here are at 90 degrees to the angled section over here. Alright, so based on all that, let's start. We've got a blank page. Start with a baseline. Now my rule is pretty short, so I'm going to use one of these set squares. I do know that it's 200 millimeters at the base, so we're going to start towards the bottom. Try and set up your line so it's running parallel to the bottom of your page, so that you can use your page sides as reference. So I'm drawing a line like this, just straight across. That's going to be the bottom chord of my truss, or the bottom of the bottom chord. So this section over here, that one there, 200 millimeters. Now I know that there's my line. I know that the width is going to be, well, I've measured that from my bit of timber, it's 7 millimeters, or I can just simply trace it here. There's the width of the truss. Now if you want parallel lines, you can use a ruler and a set square to generate them. I'll show you how. So I'll move this bit out of the way, move it up so you can see. Put your ruler on an angle and set your set square up so it's riding and sliding along the top of your ruler. Line up the line that you want to use to create as your basis, and then simply slide the set square up until it kisses the top of that little mark that you've made. Draw a light construction line across and you now have parallel lines. It's a very useful little technique. Right, next thing is we need to start it and finish it. So let's start with our 200 millimeters at this point. There. We're going to finish it over here at that point. So at this stage I'm going to guess what a straight line looks like, and if you need to sort of guess it a little bit, you can use the marks on the ruler if you have parallel marks, those marks there. And that will, if you line those two marks up, you're going to get a right angle over here on my left. So that's a bit of a guide. Construction line going up like that. Do the same on this side. I'm lining up my 7 and the 80 as parallel marks to try and get an approximate, right, like this. So what I've done is just created the bottom chord of the truss. I now need to find halfway. So it's 200, therefore halfway is 100. Make a little mark. And I can use my set square or my ruler. If I want to use my ruler, I'll just do it with a ruler because it's the most basic form of equipment that you have. Draw a vertical line going straight up like that. That's now the center point. So what we've established here now is this bottom chord of the truss. It's called a chord. That's the top chord up here. And we've established a center line going up through the center like that. Now we know that the center line is 90 millimeters because we've been given that. So I'll measure up 90 millimeters and I'll make a mark across here, make a parallel mark, and once again, if I line up the vertical, the top and the bottom markers, I can get myself an approximately parallel line to the horizontal or a perpendicular line to the vertical. Good. Now you notice that this truss meets at the top like that, and the top edge of the top chord meets right at the corner. So let's establish that line over here. There it is there. So I put my pencil on the point, move the ruler up to it and draw a line across like that. Same thing on this side over here. I'm putting my pencil on the line, and try not move your pencil around much as you're ruling. Keep your pencil nice and straight in the same angle so you get a nice straight line. Beautiful. Now I know that the top chord, these top two chords, have the same thickness as the bottom chord, so I'm going to establish those now, and I can use this to trace, or if I knew it was 7mm, I just measure here, make my 7mm mark over there. I'll double check it because it might be a little bit thicker. It's probably about 8mm. Yeah, it's a bit more. Right, and now I've got parallel lines. Now I could use my technique with a set square. Remember I told you we can use the angle surface of the set square to line up and then create, by sliding it up and down, to create parallel lines. I can do that, and I'll demonstrate it for you. And then next one on the left hand side we'll do differently. So we know we've got a similar mark to make over here. I'm going to use the thickness of the timber, or you can measure it. There it is there. This time around I'm going to hold my ruler up against the edge and then bring it down slowly with two hands, and as I do this I'm going to look at that distance and look at this distance and make sure they're approximately the same. I know I have to meet at that point. Now this isn't 100% accurate, but it's still quite accurate, and you can see I'm getting a nice consistent shape now. Alright, excellent. So we've now created the bottom chord, we've created the top chord, now we need the center, and there's some complexity going on over here in the center. So we know we have to have a right angle here at this point. So we know that coming up from the center we have to come across here at an angle, and this line that I'm pointing to here has to be at right angles to that surface. So in this case, if you only have a ruler, what you can do is line up the ruler on two of those center marks like that, and then slide it down as you go. And as you're sliding it down, you're trying to keep it roughly so that these two marks are sitting on top of your line, and then look at where this edge that I'm pointing to here connects with, has to be the bottom over there, down there. So we're going to slide this down, and then we're going to get to the bottom. We'll hold the bottom and move it till both of these two edges of those two markings, the 0 and the 15, sit exactly on the line, and the other point is at the vertice intersection point of the horizontal and vertical lines here. Now I'm going to do a little line. That's a rough, so it's only a light line. I might make it a bit harder so you guys can see it a little bit more clearly. So just by using a ruler, I've managed to create a right angle here, reasonably accurate. I need to do the same thing on the other side. So I'll line up my two little marks here, the 0 and the 15. I'm going to place a ruler here and spin them around until I can get these two marks to sit exactly on top of that line going across there. How's that looking? Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just about spot on. There we go. So now I'm going to use those as my center lines, and I know that I've measured this and whatever the distance is. Let me check it. Looks like it's about 8mm. That's 4mm on either side. I think I can see 4mm. There's 4, and that will be 8. Same thing on this side. I'm just making small marks. 4mm and 8mm. Good. That doesn't look quite right, does it? Thank you for picking me up on that. So there's 4mm, and there's 8mm there. Okay. Now your rubber's always handy, so try not to leave yourself ambiguous marks that you end up creating problems for yourself. Rub out anything that isn't accurate, replace it with something that is, to avoid confusion, and you'll find life will be a lot better. I'm going to now line up my edge and just draw it down to get some parallel lines. I'm going to do the same up here. So that'll give me the approximate shape of the beam coming down this way. Now you notice that I'm drawing the lines all the way across. It doesn't bother me. I need to know where they intersect, because when I start to build my, here we go, when I start to build these intersection points, I want to see where the lines cross over each other and make my decision where I decide to cut the timber. I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. Like that. Okay. So I've missed that line. See how my line isn't quite correct on that line? I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to rub that out a little bit and redo it. Okay, so these are my two side beams, so I'll show you what they look like over here. There we go. So I've done these, I've got those. Now I've got my vertical main support. And again, I know my thickness, it's 8 millimeters, so I just mark 4 on either side. There's 4 and there's 8. Vertical, just using a ruler here now, line it up on the edge, move it across, and then look at the distances. Make sure that distance is very close to that distance, and you're going to get a vertical. The other way of doing it is checking to make sure that you have 2 marks that sit on the line on either side, and use this width of the ruler as almost like a tri-square, so you can get a right angle. One there, and one here. And use your eyes. Your eyes are quite accurate. There we go. Good. Right, so now I'm deciding that I'm going to cut this shape, this center, here and here. So I might try and use a bit of a pen to make it a bit clearer for you. So I'm going to use that line there and that line. And then I'm going to cut this shape down here. Now, it should be even. It isn't. But I'm going to decide to cut this shape like here, like that. So my center column is going to have this shape, almost like an arrowhead at either end, like that. My other two shapes will come across here. They'll meet to there. Another one over here. Meet to there. I'll rule the line across. So this will be the shape of the left hand brace, truss brace, like that. The one on the right will be almost identical in shape, just mirror imaged over here. And I'm using the ruler to guide me, because remember I'm going to have to use this to mark out my actual shape, like that. Okay, and the rest is quite simple. It's just a matter of tracing these other edges and making sure that you indicate the length of each beam clearly. So don't be confused by the overlaps. That's why I'm drawing thick lines now, because my thick lines will tell me the perimeter or the outside edge of the beams. I don't want to be cutting a beam in the wrong spot. So very important that you get those right. Right, now you can do the same across the top chord here. So when the time comes and you have to cut these shapes, these complex angles aren't so bad, because all you're going to do is put your bit of timber across the top here like that, line it up exactly in the right spot, look over the top and continue the lines the way that they would have gone. You can just do it freehand like that, and then you'll cut that shape or sand that shape, and that's going to fit exactly onto the right beam. Yeah. You do the same on the bottom edge if you had a longer bit of timber, and that's how you're going to mark out the various different bits of lengths of wood. So I hope that's clear and helpful for you, and this is doing some basic tech drawing using just a ruler, which you can do at home, no drawing board, nothing of the sort, and you can still get quite a successful drawing that looks quite okay, and it's quite adequate for manufacturing if you have to manufacture a truss. Okay. So we've just produced this, and that's what we've done over here now, ready to go. Hope that was helpful for you, and I'll talk to you again soon.